let's look. We're live. Let's not fight now, okay?
All
Can we
right.
say? Can we? Let's put on. Look, we're gonna go live any second now.
Can we save
Let's
Can we
put on a
save it?
happy face and pretend that we get along, okay? I don't want people to know the lie, the truth
Can we
about
save it for the counselor?
it. Hey everyone, welcome to Thursday night's edition. This is about the boy from Iowa City. Iowa City. So, you know what? I don't think I've done anything I might today have eaten more than I've eaten any other day of my life. I've been on the road all day long, taking customers out for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I ate on the way down for lunch. I ate lunch. I ate on the way, all out of boredom. I ate not even the share, the family size, the big bag of M&M's, peanut butter Reese's to the point that my
you can eat those.
Well,
I can't eat a lot of chocolate. I can eat a whole bag of Red Ropes, but I can't eat chocolate.
Your thing is those what are those?
Not anymore. Like I
Nerds
on them, and I can't even eat them anymore. Nerds clusters. I
clusters.
I can't even put one. It can't go past my lips anymore. It's like I can't.
My tongue is raw from the amount of M&M's. It's just. Yeah. Anyway, today, and see, I was thinking about this with drinking because one of my big things is boredom. You get home,
right.
What do? I got nothing to do. I have nothing scheduled, nothing planned. I have no accountability. I'm bored. What do? I drink. Well, that's how I was driving today because I was on the road for 10 hours of driving time total, and it was just out of boredom. And I was so I'm excited because our good buddy Todd from the boy from Iowa City is it's the word, he's our guest tonight, and he, like you, has written a book, and this is Christmas, it's the holiday season, and I love how everyone it's all about giving.
I can't do it. I'll have to go this way.
You could use a little green, but it's so nice. Everyone is Christmas is all about giving, so I've decided to keep the spirit alive. So I am offering for Todd to give away one of his books, autographed copy of his book. So we're going to have a trivia question, and I'll give it just a few minutes here, but because anyways, we're going to do that and give away a free copy of the book, and I guess I'll just bring them on. Anything going on in your week of excitement?
No, I just taught my last class yesterday, so I'm off for the rest of the month.
And, you're doing you're teaching singing, right? Operatic.
Yeah, and then my husband came home today. This is his last day of work forever.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna have to up how much we spend on therapy now.
Did he bring home an eviction notice for you now that he's retired?
He's truly going to be around all the time. I'm thrilled.
I give it 2 weeks. I don't know what's going to happen after 2 weeks, but something, whatever's going to happen, I give it in 2 weeks.
This is going to be a new chapter.
Well, there he is.
Speaking of chapters.
Yeah, speaking of chapters. Hey, I think no one got the one for the books, but my little.
Nobody got it.
I don't think anyone got it. You got it because I explained it to you. I thought it was a catchy phrase because you've won, sobriety. You won against alcohol, one for the books, play on words, and no one got it.
You have a very sophisticated sense of humor, Jeff. It's not for everyone.
You are really a lot like our president.
Thank you very little. Appreciate it. So we're going to do this. Well, we got 10 people on. So and some people are listed as Facebook users. So at least put your first name in. But Todd, you're so gracious and kind that I have volunteered you to give away a free copy, autographed, of course, of your book.
That's nice of you.
Shipping included. And I went out to the mailman today and I said, did you bring it? Did you bring it? Because all week. And he finally said, look, order the damn thing and then maybe I will. So I thought that's a good point. So I'm going to get right on that.
All right, good.
You probably gave Peggy her copy.
I didn't, but I want to. She deserves her own copy.
Yeah,
The bookmark, I use the invoice that she sent me for full price as the bookmark in hers as a reminder. But so the trivia question is, what month did Peggy find sobriety? It was about 4 years ago, but what was the month? So if anyone throws it in to the chat, first person that does it gets it correct. Peggy, I'll start when they come out, but we'll get you a free copy of Todd's book. So all right, first oh, they're coming in. We got a lot of them. I think it has to be, but Matilda might have won. Is July correct?
Yes, it is.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's Mathilda.
I have her address.
Okay.
So I have her address.
So Matilda,
that's really cool that Matilda won it because she's
someone's showing off putting in July.
part of her
Someone
heart.
put in July 12th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow.
Someone's late, but they're showing off. I think that's like a sympathy bid for,
That's
anyway.
pretty good.
That's great.
Wow.
All right. So yeah, Matilda, Todd is graciously, it's from the three of us technically, even though he'll be paying for it and sending it to you, but it's a gift from all of us at Christmas. So we'll get that to you. So, but anyways, Peggy, I'm going to hand it over to you, Todd. I'm so glad you're here. I have read the one chapter that you sent me. I have not gotten the book yet. I'm dying to. The one on men. And I can't remember what you titled that chapter, but as I was reading it going, he nailed it. He nailed it. And it was so good. And it was one of those that I just wish, that section, I wish I could carry that around almost as a pamphlet and hand it to some of the men. So I'm looking forward to reading the whole thing.
Well, thank you. Well, just when you get it, tear that chapter out, put it in your pocket, and you can carry it around.
Yeah. I am super excited. I have been with Todd since the birth of this book, and I've read it a few times, and I plan on reading it one more time. And I was going to read your cover, but I really do like what Ketsia said about your book. I thought she nailed it. Amidst the plethora of female stories in the quit-lit genre comes a much-needed male experience. Todd shares his story with humility and humor, and his words help me piece together fragments of my own story that had been unresolved for years. Todd's voice is a beacon, especially for other men still hiding in the shadows of their shame. Ketsia Calvert, co-host of the Weekend Sober podcast. And I don't think I could have put it any other way. I think, and I do think that probably was one of your motivations, that you were kind of not tired of, but really wanting to add to the experience of gray area drinking from a dad and a male point of view. So when did you?
I'm gonna, Peggy, the one thing, and here's my pitch to get a free copy. But no, I know, but no, I just want to say, piggyback on what you're saying. What I loved about this is that's what I was looking in early sobriety, because Todd's successful. Yeah, he's not a bad looking guy. I can say it. He's got the things
that took a lot to get that out of you, Jeff.
I know. Well, I'm pitching for a free book. I'm willing to go that extra mile and put my manhood on the line. But no, it was, for lack of a better terms, Todd was what I considered cool and sober, or cool in recovery, versus I didn't see that. And that's what I think is so refreshing, to find that there's someone like that that's leading by example.
Yeah. Now, I've known Todd, I don't know, 3 years now, maybe a little more.
Yeah.
We've really kind of grown up in this sobriety world together, and he was a huge supporter of my book, and I was so excited when he decided to make the choice to make his own book. So why don't you tell our people, if Jeff will be quiet for a minute, if you could tell us when you decided to write a book.
Sure. And let me just say first, Peggy, I think part of the reason you're so excited this book is out is because it means that I'll stop coming to you with questions about the book writing process and the book publishing process. Because I came to you with, I don't know how many questions, and you were always helpful and such a big part of getting this thing done. And I mean, there wasn't a time I came to you and you did not have something helpful for me. So thank you very much for all of that.
Well, let's put in a plug for Leaning Rock Press since you're doing that.
Sure.
Robin from Leaning Rock Press, if you ever want to write your own book, boy, does she take some of the hurt out of writing a book. And a local, she's doing pretty well in the publishing department. So she is very excited to have her second Quit Lit book, and so we're sort of bookends around that. But again, I know a lot of your story, but maybe people out there really don't know. What possessed you to write a book?
So when I got to around my year anniversary of giving up drinking, that was a big milestone for me, just because I felt like I had made it to the other side. I felt like the bulk of the hard work was behind me, and I was just excited about what lay ahead. And I had so much gratitude around my year anniversary that I had decided to give up drinking. I just felt I was just so happy that I had made that decision, and I was also at the same time I was feeling a real pull to help people. I wanted to tell people about this like new way of living that I had discovered that I had no idea was out there. And so I wanted to tell people about it because it was changing my life and it was great. And whenever we, come upon life-changing positive things that we do, I think it's natural to want to tell people about it. But I also wanted to, I read a lot when I was early on, and I heard a lot of stories, and I just did a lot of reflecting around that 1 year mark of how much that helped me. And it was, I remember that I read a couple books early on that made me realize I was not the only person in the world who struggled with alcohol in the way that I did. And I legitimately felt like that at one point. I thought I was on an island and the only one who was having these thoughts about alcohol running through my head. And then I read a couple books, and I heard some people's stories, and I realized I wasn't. And again, when I got to that 1 year mark, I was just reflecting on how that propelled me forward. And I wanted to do something that would help other people in the same position that I was in not that long before that. And so I was an English major in college and had always loved reading and writing. And then my career I did a lot of writing for my job, but not creative writing. It's, legal writing. That for a long time kind of sapped my writing energy.
Right.
But as you guys know, when you give up drinking, you all of a sudden have room for more creative things, and different things start to move you. And I did a lot of reading that year, and I decided I'm gonna write a book that will hopefully help people in the same way that some of the books I read helped me. And I didn't really know what it was going to look like. I didn't think at that time, I didn't think I was going to write as much about my actual drinking as I ended up writing. I thought it was going to be more like, hey, this is listen to all this great stuff about a sober life. But in order to do that, I had to go through my drinking story too. So that was when I decided to do it.
What fascinates me is I think for a lot of people that hit rock bottom, it's easy to make that decision. And what sets this apart that I'm really interested in, I hope you cover it, you made the choice I guess, lack of better terms, in the gray area. And that's hard to do a lot because I'll quit tomorrow was my whole motto in the gray area. and it's easy to make that decision when you crash and burn or get real close. You were way above that when you made that turn, which I'd love to hear more about.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I hope this book plays a small part in changing the conversation around quitting drinking, and I think it's changing anyway. That it's okay to quit drinking if you're not putting your car in a ditch or losing your job or going to jail. Um, it's okay. I heard someone several weeks ago use the term elective sobriety, which I'd never heard before, and I thought that was really I like that a lot. It's okay. It's. I mean, you guys have heard it a lot. When people find out you stopped drinking, they say, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" Or
Right.
what was wrong? And for some people, it's a life and death thing where they really do need to stop. And mine wasn't life or death, and maybe it never would have got that way. I don't know, but it what it was for me was the battle got, like, the internal battle got bad enough where I was like, yeah, it wasn't police cars showing up in my driveway or multiple DUIs or things like that, but it was still stuff that was bothering me, and it was weighing on me, and it was making me feel bad about myself, and it was making me feel not liking myself as much as I should and as much as I wanted to, and it was causing problems in my marriage, and it was holding me back from being a better dad. It was holding me back from being a better spouse. And so, like, wherever that is on the spectrum, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. If it's causing you problems, whatever those problems look like. One person's problems could be could be no big deal to someone else. It's all individual, but if it's causing you enough problems, then you need to do something about it. And it was causing me enough problems that I needed to do something about it. But I also, I hope the conversation, evolves more into, some people just quit drinking because they want to make a positive decision or a positive, development in their life. They want to do something positive for themselves.
Yeah, we had Ken Middleton on a couple weeks ago, and he really was in that same position where he just wasn't happy. And then, and his business, when he stopped drinking, took off. And he talks about doing little things like, his wife is Korean, and now he's learning the language and all of these things that are so much more possible when you're not having that internal battle.
Yeah. I've said this 100 times. If you would have told me when the day I quit, if you would have told me that I was going to end up liking a life without alcohol this much more than I liked my life as a drinker, I would have bet you $5 million.
Me too. I mean,
that you were wrong.
It's interesting because I felt my drinking was a huge part of it was to ease pain. And for me, the pain was anxiety, which was caused by drinking, which I didn't realize that whole circle. But I wasn't drinking because it made me feel better or for positive things. I was medicinal.
Yeah.
I mean, the pain, and I'm not talking physical, but the pain of dealing with anxiety was freaking brutal. So I was scared to give it up because I didn't realize it was causing it, but it was the only thing that worked to fix it.
Yeah, it felt
temporarily. So it wasn't that I gave up something I liked. I had to give up something I felt I needed.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't feel, when I gave it up, I didn't feel like I needed it. Well, maybe I did, because I didn't feel like I needed it physically, but I obviously felt like I needed it on some level, because the thought of giving it up scared the crap out of me.
Me too.
I mean, I thought I was gonna. I thought I was signing a life sentence of
I thought my life was over.
yeah.
I literally thought my life is over. My life is going to suck from now on. I'm going to be this great mother, grandmother, wife, but I'm going to hate every flipping minute of it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little dull and a little boring, and I thought there'd be benefits, and I thought overall it would be a good decision for me. And I thought the dullness and the boringness and was just something I had to. It was kind of my penance for not really figuring out how to drink like a normal person. I thought that's just what I have to. That's just what I have to put up with.
It's so universal for people that are professionals, right? And anybody that that is pretty successful in their job. I mean, for me, I wanted to. My story was a little bit different because my family was pressuring me. No one in my professional world knew I had an issue, but certainly my family did. And I had this fantasy to quit drinking, then drink, and then I quit. I wanted to make the decision, right?
On your own terms.
Yeah, on my own terms. And so it took me a little bit of maybe a grieving period to realize that, I think it is. It's the science behind it, knowing that it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And but when you are successful in your career, it is really hard to go, damn, why couldn't I just do it? Why couldn't I just drink the right way?
Yeah. Why can't I figure this out?
I've done everything else in my career, so why can't I drink? Why can't I drink? And I'll always have a little bit of that in me the rest of my life. I don't dwell on it, but
Does your ego hurt that you couldn't do what she's saying? That you couldn't drink like?
Oh yeah, it made me feel like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look around and this isn't true, but at the time I thought it was true. And you look around at everyone, you think everybody else has this figured out,
right?
Well, not everyone has it figured out, but at the time, you think everyone else in the world has it figured out, and except you. And it's like, and you fail, over and over and over again. And my drinking episodes, my bad drinking episodes, sometimes I go 2 months, 3 months without a bad drinking episode. But that never really mattered. It's almost like as soon as you have one, and there was always another one somewhere around the corner, it all comes rushing back. Like you may think it's gone, or you may think it's dissipating. It all comes rushing back, and it's the same thing, and it's the same, shame and embarrassment and regret, and that same like beating yourself up of like, why can't you figure this out? And then each time it happens, that increases just a little bit, and you don't even notice it, but that builds up. For me, it built up over time, and like
painful.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I said to myself, like, how many times are you gonna do this? How many times are you gonna do this till you figure it out? and with drinking, we for a long time we don't want to give it up, and so we come up with every excuse in the book. We latch on to whatever little success story we can, and we tell ourselves so many little lies about how we've got it figured out, or we're going to figure it out, or next time's going to be different. And it might be different for a little while, but it never stays different. It never did for me anyway.
And I think it's hard when you have I know your wife and my husband are completely normal drinkers, almost a take it or leave it kind of drinker. And so sure. I think it is really hard, and that's the beauty in the friendships that we have, is that I don't even think now he really gets it, like how hard it was to stop drinking. How very difficult and gut-wrenching it was for me to stop, because they can take it or leave it.
It makes zero sense. It's you just don't do it. you have no idea. The battle isn't anything physical. It's the battle's up here.
I think the beauty of writing a book like this, especially, and I really give your wife a ton of credit for for how beautiful this book is, and really honest and open and super funny, because I think, I swear to God, we had similar childhoods. Like, we did some pretty funny things. Like, okay, Peggy and Todd, they'll go do it.
It's a good thing we didn't know each
great
other.
idea, and then you and I would be the first people out the, in the car, with our baseball bats. But it's really different when you're married to somebody that just will never get it. Not that they're not proud, and not that they're because their life is totally enhanced by the decisions we've made. However, they will never get it.
Has your wife read it yet, Todd?
She has not read the whole thing. She's read a couple chapters that I wanted her to read before the book went out into the world. And we had some good spirited discussions on a couple of those, and which I'm glad we had. So there's one chapter where I talk about me and her in particular, and how it was getting through the first year as it related to me and her. So I wanted her to read that before it went out to the world.
It's a beautiful book. So many people
will
be able to relate to this book, especially going into your relationship like that. It's really special.
Well, I feel like it comes up a lot when you talk to people about who have a spouse that still drinks, or even if they don't, but didn't have an issue with alcohol. Mm-hmm. That part caught me totally off guard. I was, when you're thinking about giving up, drinking forever, a million things go through your head. One of them for me was not, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to my relationship with my wife? And which seems naive now that I didn't think about that, but I didn't. And it really, it upsets the dynamic. Yeah. And my wife never came to me and said, I think you should quit drinking. I want you to quit drinking. We certainly had a lot of discussions about her. What she would always say to me is, why can't you drink like a normal person?
Right,
say, I don't know. I would love to drink like a normal person. So when I quit, it wasn't like she was like, oh, thank God he's finally seen the light. I think she was kind of like, whoa, hold on. You're changing the rules here. You're kind of pulling the rug out from under me. And she also had 20 years of being my spouse and being dealing with my drinking.
And we all play a role, right? So the roles switch.
Yes.
That they change, and that's it doesn't, and all marriages change.
But did she offer to not drink when you quit?
What's that?
Did she offer to not drink herself when you quit?
No, she didn't. And I never, her drink, I always tell her her drinking has never really bothered me. If she drank like I did and I quit, then it would bother me. It would be, then it would be an issue.
I'm that way with friends or family. If they normally drink, if they don't drink because they're around me, I'm hurt. I'm offended. I'm something. And it's like, no, drink. This is my deal, not yours. I'm uncomfortable if they normally do.
Yeah, I was like that at first too. I would just assume someone drink than not drink in my presence, because not drinking would make me feel more awkward.
Right.
Now it's not that big a deal. But also, 4+ years out, I think everyone could benefit from giving up drinking, no matter what their relationship is. Now it's different with each person. Not everyone needs to give up drinking, but I think giving up drinking is something everyone should think about. But it's a personal,
right? No, I agree.
Personal decision.
I totally agree, and I think when you get, and it's not a preachy thing at all. It's just I think I know it sounds cliche when we kind of look at it in the way we look at cigarette smoking, but I do believe it's going to get there someday because there is so many negative um, consequences for drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There really are. I mean, there's a lot of parallels to the smoking, and I don't know if it's just I mean, obviously some of it's because I quit drinking, but I don't know how much of it is me paying more attention to this stuff now than
yeah,
I
I
did.
mean, you can't unknow the science.
No, you really can't. You really can't.
Mhm.
When I there's in at the end of the book, I don't really talk about the health effects much, but at the end of the book, I do a little bit, and I did it not to like convince people like you shouldn't drink because this is unhealthy, because that never, I knew it was unhealthy, and that has zero impact on me. When I was drinking, I never once thought I should give up drinking because it would be a healthier.
I ate a pound of M&Ms today. I know that those are not loaded like Flintstone vice. I know they're bad for you, but I was willing. So just
So
knowing that
you
alcohol's
get it.
not good for you isn't going to work on someone like me.
Yeah, I love in that end of the book where you talk about what I thought then and what I know now. I think that that's going to be really helpful for people that are even just thinking about, are sober curious and to think about that. I mean, Susie, my Sober in the City partner, went to a meeting yesterday, and it was the 4 top trends in alcohol sales. It's at Nielsen, uh, and non-alcs are the number 2 uh, fastest growing business in the alcohol
Really?
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
because and you and I, when we started, there was Topo Chico and
Yeah.
O'Doul's, which
O'Doul's.
you might as well slap the A on my forehead.
Mhm.
with
Neon
O'Doul's.
light.
You wouldn't
Oh,
give me to try O'Doul's if just because it's like, oh shit, look at that
in a
alcohol.
bottle. Yeah.
Hey,
No, it's
Todd,
changed. It's changed a lot.
was there anything writing this book that you uncovered that you didn't realize? That you kind of, oh my God, I didn't realize that, or
Yeah. Two things. One is my dad's drinking, I
I
think
love that part.
played more of a role in my own drinking and drinking behavior, and just how I thought about drinking than I ever realized. And the second thing was him quitting. He quit drinking like 23 years ago. Him quitting had a bigger impact on me than I thought. When he
how?
quit, well, when he quit, I'm so much like my dad. We are we are very similar individuals, and for the longest time, I kind of used him as an example of why I didn't have a problem, why I didn't need to quit, because he was successful. I had a good relationship with him growing up. He was always there, as a dad at our stuff, and so I just thought some people just like to drink a little more than other people. And that
Mhm.
was him and that was me. And as long as I kept my stuff together and showed up for my kids, then I was okay. Um, but that's not always okay. But that's what I told myself for a long time. Um, and so when he quit, I was pretty young. I think I was 20. I was in my mid to late 20s. So I was quitting was not even on the radar screen for me, but a very small voice in my head was like, "Oh shit,
I
I'm
remember
gonna
that
have
part in your book.
I'm gonna have to quit drinking someday, aren't
Yeah.
I?"
Yeah,
Because
I
my
remember
dad had
that.
done.
I remember
Huh?
that moment. I forgot about that. I remember that.
Yeah, it was, and I flushed it away and didn't really think about it very much, but I had that thought because I'm a lot like him, and
Well,
I
speaking of fathers and sons, you have a son that's going to go off to college pretty soon. right?
Yeah.
And you guys are looking at colleges. What are some things you're going to talk to your son about?
So he's also a lot like me. And it's funny, I think about him going off to college, and I just, part of me's like, oh my gosh, I'm replaying every drinking horror story in my mind. And I'm thinking just, oh my God, he's going to go through the exact same thing. And I like to avoid that for him. But,
Right.
that's not really how it works. So what I've told him, and we'll probably talk about this more, before he heads off to school in the fall. But what I've told him is, look, we're very much alike. We have very similar personalities in a lot of ways. And here are my issues, the issues I had with drinking.
Great.
And I just say, I had trouble with an off switch. I drank more than other people in the room. I thought about alcohol. I thought about drinking all the time. I planned my schedule around it. I obsessed about it. And then I told him, I said, and the nights when I would drink too much, I would wake up and it feels terrible the next day. You feel terrible about yourself. And I just said, and I tell him, it got to the point for me where the negatives of drinking outweighed the positives. And so all I've said to him is just be aware of those things.
Yeah.
If you start feeling those things, just examine them. If you wake up one day after you drink too much and you feel like crap, not just physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
Like, ask yourself why. What does that mean? Why, dig into that. Because I ignored that, or I didn't examine it for way too long.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, I don't know. I know telling him he shouldn't drink and don't drink.
No, it's
not
not
going to
about
do
that.
it.
I mean,
I know.
yeah.
I know. And maybe his drinking will be different. I don't know.
I think I think most dads though I don't know if you did that, Jeff, but I don't think most dads have that conversation with their sons, because
I had it with my son about chewing tobacco. And he is he's me. And I said, you're going to get pressured about it. And I jumped in to fit in. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever quit or did try to quit that stuff. I said and he's addicted, believe it or not, to chapstick. I mean, he is.
that was Laura McCowan.
He would be at his football games. They all laughed because at halftime, when everyone went for water, the first thing he would go for. And I said, you're addicted to petroleum jelly. Okay, that's not even an addictive substance. Just be aware of that. So we've had that. I think what I've tried more, Peggy, not consciously, but I'm showing them I quit and I'm smiling.
Behavior, yeah. I mean,
I'm so it's like, hey, if you ever have to, this ear is open.
Yeah.
This hand is out, and the smiles it'll be okay. But it's got to be their life. At that age, if you had told me she'll feel better about it, I would have said, see.
Yep.
We have about, I don't know, 10 more minutes, I think. What were some of the titles that you came up with until you settled on this one?
Oh my gosh. I probably came up with 20 different titles. And I don't know if I can remember any of them now. I never liked any of them. You know what? I really loved when I decided I was going to write the book. I loved your title of your book.
See, that's why I brought it up, because I'm really pissed off that you didn't pick my title.
Which one?
I wanted to, because
Raising the Bar.
Oh, that's right.
That one.
I love that.
No, I meant I like the title of your book. The Other Side. Because I really felt like I was that year mark was just really like I really did feel like I was entering the other side. But Raising the Bar was one.
I said Closing the Bar.
Closing the Bar.
Yes,
that's a good one. what was the, oh,
What was
like,
the other one? I was trying to remember when I was figuring out the questions.
the way I settled on the actual title was I kept coming back to, like, one of the main reasons I wrote the book was because, as I mentioned, I've been, and you guys, you'll know this, but I've just been blown away by how this life that I discovered that I didn't know existed. And I wanted that to be a theme in the book. I wanted, because I like I said, if you would have told me at the beginning of this, if you would have tried to describe for me what awaited, I wouldn't have believed you.
Sure.
And so you can't make anyone believe it, but what you can do is you can describe it how it's been for you.
Yeah.
And if that resonates with someone, it resonates with someone. But I wanted that to be a kind of a major theme of the book, because I was so drawn to that in the beginning. And that was one thing that kind of got me over the hump when I was deciding, like, God, do I really want to give this up for life? Is I couldn't think of a single person who I knew of or had heard tell their story who had given it up that hadn't said something along the lines of, it's the best decision I've ever made.
Could
And
you
Look at that picture behind your head, which I see a lot when we're talking to you. It really is going from black and white to Technicolor.
Yeah,
It truly is.
it is.
You
It
hear a
really
lot of
is.
people say that, but it's at and Ken Middleton just said that a couple weeks ago, and Laura McCowan said that, and all the people that we really admire in here is that.
Someone commented about the color of your books behind you, Peggy, earlier in the chat, about how you
book.
flow red to orange to yellow to.
I have a problem with books. I mean, serious. I don't know if you can't really see, but see all those.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're everywhere in my room. So I really seriously, I do. It's almost like when I see the Amazon guy coming, I run up because Paul's like, how many books have you not read? Like I get one every day practically.
Well, that's why I wanted the pullback of the curtain on the cover.
I love it.
Because you're pulling back a curtain.
Yeah.
And see, black and white to color.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
any last parting advice for people that are sober curious?
Oh man, I would say trust your gut.
Yeah.
Like somewhere inside you, your gut's telling you something. I would go with that. And it doesn't mean you have to decide tonight that you're never going to drink again, but go with that, explore it, read, listen, find people on social media, listen to podcasts, read my book, just listen to other people's stories. Just listen and take it in and see if it's something you think you might be interested in.
Do you notice that your book matches my shirt?
I like that. I like that a lot.
Merry Christmas.
I appreciate that.
Speaking of,
you could have done the same thing.
How do we get your book?
Speaking of listening to the book, if you do the Audible, use someone different than Peggy did, because you talk about a screeching, naggy voice. It's painful. Whoever she hired is like, wow, it hurts.
Well, my kids might tell you that my voice can be screechy and nagging. Also.
Your voice is awesome. Of course we were meant to be screechy and naggy for our kids.
That's right.
I do want to put in a plug for Sober in the City, Tampa, because Todd will be speaking there and selling his books. So if you are into joining us, Jeff's going to be there as well. Sober in the City in Tampa, Florida on February 9th through the 11th. So you can just go to Zero Proof Experiences. And
how far is that from Barstow?
Probably a few thousand miles.
I am really excited for that.
Yeah, we're really excited. Todd's going to be a speaker. It's going to be super fun. Becky Vollmer is. We're actually having quite the quite the author lineup there. So
So how do they find your book?
So the book is on Amazon. It's on my website, toddkinney.com. And it's on Walmart.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
That's incredible. But Matilda doesn't need to look up any of those.
No, she doesn't. She's going to be getting a free one.
and Matilda's coming to Tampa, so she'll get
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll have to get a picture of you handing a book to her.
Yeah.
And I'll get your money. I'll get your money in Tampa, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. You're one of my favorite people on the planet.
Oh, thank you, Peggy. That's nice. I feel the same.
Better.
All right, everyone.
All right.
We'll talk soon. Take care. See ya.